Yeah, everybody has the location, has the place.
Not sure.
Where are we?
We are on Daf. Yeah, let me just make sure the recording is working. See? Yeah, everybody has the look. Okay, yeah, it's working. So we are on Daf Hey Amar Aleph, the last line, 5a, but the last line.
It's a new Mishnah?
No, it's Rabbi Yehuda Omer. It's a quote from the Mishnah that we learned on the top of 5a. We're continuing to the discussion. It's literally, if you look in, it will say 5a, it will say 5b, and it's the line before 5b.
That's right.
What page is it on, David?
It's on page 28.
Okay, you got that?
I got it
Ben
now.
and Philip.
I don't know where we jumped. I must have missed a class. I did miss a class.
Yeah, you did.
You missed the class, but you listened to it.
Yeah, I didn't listen to it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's my problem.
5a at the last line, Rabbi Yehuda Omer istitis hi zu. So this is a quote from the Mishnah. And the quote, the Mishnah basically was talking about the Mishnah that we just learned last week. It's talking about a scenario where conspiring witnesses come one right after the other, right? That and what happens is that one gets killed, the next one gets killed, etc. And Rabbi Yehuda comes and tells us at the end of that Mishnah, which is an argument. He's arguing on the previous opinion on the Mishnah, and Rabbi Yehuda comes and says, "Istatis that this is ridiculous. This is." They're for sure saying a lie. It can't be that everyone is saying Imanu Ayisam, you were with us, and it can't be that you witnessed this story, right? So Rabbi Yehuda says if it's coming one right after the other, he must be lying. Okay, so that is the quote from the Mishnah, the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda is to see that if more people are coming and saying, Imanu Yisam is saying that the previous group is a conspiring witness, so they have to be lying. So the Gemara asks, we're on top of Hey Amid Beis, Hey B at the top, E is Titisizu. So if you're going to say that the second or the third, the next group of witnesses are conspiring witnesses that they're lying, so then afilu katri shaina nami loy. Meaning that even if this next group is lying, the next group afterwards is lying, so the first group also shouldn't get the death penalty in this kind of scenario, right? If they said that Reuven killed Shimon, right, and then they became conspiring witnesses, we shouldn't kill them either, because the one who said on them that they're conspiring witnesses is also a lying group of witnesses. So either they're lying, then they're all lying, or they're not lying, and then they're all not lying. Why are you saying that only the later group is the lying group? So the Gemara answers, Amar Rabavau says, Kadmu v'hargu. Yeah, it's true. We shouldn't kill the first group of conspiring witnesses, but it's talking about a scenario that had already happened. They already killed the first group of conspiring witnesses, and that's what it's talking about. And so then the Gemara says, so hold on a second. So why are you making such a big deal about it in the Mishnah? My dahava hava. We can't go back. What happened, right? My dahava hava. What happened already, and you can't go back into to fix what happened. So obviously, what are you saying? The Mishnah is telling you that the first group gets killed. Of course, they got killed. That happened already. What kind of chiddush? What novelty are you telling me with that? This is normal. Unfortunate, but normal that it happened already. So the Mishnah doesn't have to tell me that. So Ella Marava. So we're looking for the novelty of this Mishnah. So Rava says, Hachika Amar. This is how we have to learn it. Im Eino Ella Kas Echos. That the Mishnah, when it says that the first group gets killed, is talking about a scenario where there's only one group of witnesses that make another group into conspiring witnesses. But then continue in the Mishnah, what if there's many groups and each group comes and cancels out the previous group, right? There's many more. So then you don't get killed. right? And that's the way Rava learns this Mishnah, right? Keep in mind, the Mishnah is from Tanaic sages. The Gemara is Amoraim, trying to understand the Mishnah. Rava is an Amora. So he's coming to tell us how he understands the Mishnah. How does he understand the Mishnah? We learned the original Mishnah that the first group gets killed. Anybody after that doesn't, right? That's the way we learned the Mishnah originally. Rava comes and says, no, the Mishnah is not telling you that. The Mishnah is telling you that if there's only one group of conspiring witnesses, that's when we mete out punishment, like it said in last week's parasha. But if there's tvei, if there's more, so then nobody gets killed. Even the first group of conspiring witnesses don't get killed. And that's the way Rava learns it in the Mishnah. Now, the problem is, and this is what the Gemara's question is, the Gemara says, hold on a second, it says, Habilvad ka'amar, that in the Mishnah, when it says that the first group gets killed, it says only the first group gets killed. What's mashma from that? What comes out from that? What do we know from that? If it says only the first group, that means that there were another group, right? So Rava's answer is not a good answer. And ultimately, the Gemara says, Kasha, it's a good question. It's a question on the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. And the Gemara doesn't fully understand the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, because the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda says that the first that the second group and third group and fourth group or whatever is for sure lying. So then nobody else gets killed, but only the first group gets killed. And we asked a very powerful question. We asked a powerful question on that, saying why maybe the witnesses on the first group are also lying, right? Maybe they're also lying. And ultimately, we tried two answers to that, which the Gemara doesn't accept, and then says, Kasha, it's a real question on Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Really, I would imagine that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda, but still, and the Gemara ends off, Kasha, it's a good question. It's a question, and that's it. And as you can see, and very rarely do we have a period in the Gemara. Here, there's a period. Kasha, it's a question, and it stays at that. Okay, so that is the first part of the Gemara that we're going to learn today. The second part of the Gemara that we're going to learn today is a story. There was this woman, and it's a story. This is a story that the Gemara is bringing. That brought witnesses to the Bezdin. Now, what is a woman bringing witnesses to the Bezdin? She had a court case with somebody, and she brought witnesses in order to plead her case. The Gemara doesn't discuss what the case was. It doesn't matter really what the case was, but I don't know. Maybe someone said that she owes money, and she's bringing witnesses that she doesn't. Or she's bringing witnesses that someone else owes her money, or she's bringing witnesses that she got divorced and she wants to make ksuba, the money of her ksuba, or she's bringing witnesses that someone destroyed some of her property. It could be anything, right? So she's bringing witnesses to validate what she is coming to talk about in this bezdin, right? Vishtakud. And then what happened was that these witnesses became canceled. What happened? Another group of witnesses comes and says, Imana Yisem, it can't be that you witnessed something like that because you weren't there at the time. Now, what happens? This story continues and says, the story continues and says, Aisusade, that she brought another group of witnesses. She says, the first two witnesses that I brought weren't good enough, right? They got canceled by another group of witnesses. So she brought another two. She brought another two guys that they came and they testified on her behalf. Vishtagur. And these also got canceled. They also, other witnesses came and said, how could you have witnessed something like that? You were with us, etc. Right? Oslo, she went. She brings a third group of witnesses. Now, what's going on over here, right? Think about it in a court of law today. You bring one group of witnesses, and then they get knocked off. You bring another group of witnesses, they get knocked off. You bring a third group of witnesses. How's the jury going to look at this woman at this point, right? Think about it from that perspective. So, and now, but what happens? This final group of witnesses, they're good. They couldn't find anything. They cross-examination, whatever it is, they couldn't find anything against them. Their testimony seems to be valid. The lo yishtakur, that they weren't canceled. This group, the third group. So Reish Lakish, You know Reish Lakish, right? We've learned enough Gemara that we heard this name, Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish says, Huchsikazu. She has a chazaka. She has already a standing thing against her that she brings false witnesses to the Bezdin. And if she brings false witnesses to the Bezdin, we can't rely on any witnesses that she brings. She brought now a third group of witnesses, but because the first two got canceled, this third we don't believe. So that's the opinion of Reish Lakish. Okay, so let's just make sure you understand the opinion of Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish says that since this woman cannot be believed, everybody kind of agrees that we can't really trust this woman. But Reish Lakish says, but since we can't trust this woman, the two witnesses now, the third set of witnesses that were brought on her behalf, we can't trust. Can't trust, right? That's Reish Lakish's opinion. Amar Rebbe Lazar. Rebbe Lazar says to Reish Lakish. Rebbe Lazar is a colleague of Reish Lakish and also a colleague of Rabbi Yochanan, as we're going to see in a moment. So Amar Rebbe Lazar tells Reish Lakish, Imhi Hochsika. Now, let's say we agree that this woman, she brings false witnesses. There's a chazaka that she brings false witnesses. But Kol Yisrael mi'ov zaku. But all the rest of the Jewish people, all of a sudden you're saying that they're false witnesses because this woman brings false witnesses. Meaning, what's the idea over here? These two witnesses, the third set of witnesses, we can't cancel them based on the person who brought them, right? They're kosher witnesses. The person who brought them is not a kosher person. We're not taking her testimony. We don't believe her. We're believing these two witnesses. And if these two witnesses are kosher witnesses and they pass the cross-examination, etc., so then we have to believe them. Because if you're going to cancel them based on the person who brought them, this woman who brought them, you're canceling the whole Jewish people, meaning that she can never bring it. Who are we relying on over here? Are we relying on the woman? No, we're relying on the testimony. So therefore, according to Rebbe Lazar, he says that we do accept the third set of witnesses. That's the story that happened. And then Zimrin, it happened another story. And Havayasvi Kamed Rabbi Yochanan, that Reish Lakish and Rebbe Lazar were sitting by Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan famously is Reish Lakish's brother-in-law, but not only is his brother-in-law, they learned a lot together. They fought a lot together. They argued a lot together in the Gemara. But obviously, Reish Lakish looked up to his brother-in-law Rabbi Yochanan very much, and they were sitting in front of Rabbi Yochanan, the two of them, Reish Lakish and Rabbi Lazar. Also, and a certain scenario, a similar scenario came up in front of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish and Rabbi Lazar. And Amar Reish Lakish, and Reish Lakish has his opinion, and which he said before, Huchzikazu, that she has a chazaka, and we can't trust her, and therefore this third group of witnesses are not trusted, even though we can't cancel them, but we don't trust them because of the chazaka of the woman that's bringing them. Amr Rabbi Yochanan. So now Rabbi Yochanan turns to them, and he turns to Reish Lakish, and he says, Im Hochzika. If she has a chazaka that she brings false witnesses, Kol Yisrael, meaning, are you saying that all the Jewish people have a chazaka that they'll listen to her and say false testimony? No. Now what happened? Reish Lakish realizes that what Rebbe Lazar said in the previous story is the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, right? That's the fact that it's the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. So he says, Hadar Chazia Rebbe Lazar bishus. Reish Lakish turns his head and he's like angry at Rebbe Lazar. So again, the first story, Reish Lakish said that we don't trust her, and therefore we don't trust the third set of witnesses. Rebbe Lazar says, no, we should trust witnesses. We don't trust her, but we trust witnesses. We can't cancel all the Jewish people, right? Now, when it comes in front of Rabbi Yochanan, he sees that it's not Rebbe Lazar's opinion. He heard this from Rabbi Yochanan. So he gets angry at Rebbe Lazar. He says, you should have told me when you said that opinion that you heard it from Rabbi Yochanan. Amarle, he turns to Rebbe Lazar with an angry face, and he says, to Rebbe Lazar, Shmat milim bar nafcha v'lo yamartla mishmei. You heard this from my brother-in-law, from Rabbi Yochanan, and you don't tell it to me in his name. He got upset. It's just a story in the Gemara. Now, so what do we have? We have an argument between Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan also, Rabbi Lazar also goes with Rabbi Yochanan's opinion, right? So now the reason why the Gemara brought up the story is in order to see if this scenario, if this case, this argument between Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan is similar to our Mishnah. Might be similar to our Mishnah. Lema, we might be able to say, why are we looking for it to be similar to our Mishnah? Because we always try to take the opinions of the later generations and hang it and put it onto a previous generation, because previous generations are obviously more strong, their opinions are more valuable, etc. That we go according to opinions of previous generations, but it's a legitimate argument in this generation of Da'amayroim if it was an argument in the previous generation. So Lema, we might be able to say that Reish Lakish, the Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yochanan, the Amar Rabbanan. We might say that Reish Lakish's opinion is similar to Rabbi Yehuda in our Mishnah. What does Rabbi Yehuda say in our Mishnah? That the first group gets canceled and everybody else afterwards does not, right? It does not get killed, right? And Rabbi Yochanan says, like the sages, the earlier part of the Mishnah, that we do not. So basically, Rabbi Yehuda says that later witnesses are all considered to be lying. Anybody after the first set of witnesses, we consider them to be liars. And Rabbanon, the first opinion, the Stam Mishnah, the sages, they say no. That we do not consider the witnesses to be liars, right? And that is the argument between Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, similar to the argument of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. Okay, it's in a different scenario, but we might be able to connect the two. But the Gemara doesn't accept it, and the Gemara says, basically, it's going to say how Rish Lakish can say that his opinion can go both according to Rabbanan and according to Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yochanan will also come and tell you that my opinion can go both according to the first opinion in the Mishnah and Rabbi Yehuda's opinion in the Mishnah as well. And let's see it inside. Amr lecha Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish will come and tell you. He might be able to tell you. Anad amri lach afilu Rabbanan. We said that his opinion is according to Rabbi Yehuda, but he might tell you, I can also say it according to the sages, according to the Rabbanon. Ad kan lo yiko amri Rabbanon. Until here, the sages didn't say. What did the sages say in the Mishnah? That we do believe the witnesses, even up to 100 witnesses that come and cancel the previous one. We believe each one of them. So they're saying that the leka kamahader, because there's no individual that's coming and bringing those witnesses. They're coming alone. But in our case, there's this woman. That's the problem here. Is there's this woman, and we believe, according to Reish Lakish, we believe that she's going and convincing people, however she's doing it, convincing them to come and lie on her behalf. So since there is that person here, the common denominator is the person that's bringing them. By the opinion, by the comment, by the case that's brought in our Mishnah, there's no person there. There's just a set of witnesses that then gets canceled by the next set of witnesses, that gets canceled by the next set of witnesses, but there isn't the common denominator of the person that's kamahader, that's bringing them back and forth. Aval hacha ika, the kamahadra. But over here you have this itisa, you have this woman that's bringing them back and forth. So since the common denominator about all these canceled witnesses is this woman, so anyone else that she brings will also get canceled. That's the opinion of Rish Lakish, and he says that even Rabbanon, even the first opinion in the Mishnah, would agree with me. That's the way, and therefore it's not a Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan is not a machlekes of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabban. That's from one perspective. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Lach. Rabbi Yochanan will tell you, Anad Amri Afilu Rabbi Yehuda. I could tell you, you said that Rabbi Yochanan's opinion is like the sages, the first opinion in the Mishnah. He says, no, my opinion could even fit well with Rabbi Yehuda. Ad kan loikam Rabbi Yehuda hasam. Over there, when Rabbi Yehuda says that the later witnesses get canceled, only the first one gets canceled. The later ones we believe we don't cancel them. meaning we don't believe them at all, and they're all considered liars. That's what Rabbi Yehuda says. They're all considered liars after the first group, which Rabbi Yochanan says we do believe, right? So over there, that Rabbi Yehuda says that we don't believe. Why? Because over there, in that case, where many groups of witnesses are coming and saying, well, I saw this and I saw that. So like, how could it be that one story, the whole world was present in that case? And that's why Rabbi Yehuda says that we don't believe everybody's liars. If everybody says I was there at that story, it can't be. That's why everybody's liars. Sorry. Aval hacha, but over here, hani yadi b'sadusiv, hani lo yadi b'sadusiv. These later witnesses, they knew, they said proper testimony, they were there. And the first group, they didn't say proper testimony. How did they get canceled? Because they didn't say proper testimony. And that's why they got canceled, the earlier set of witnesses. So therefore, we do believe, according to Rabbi Yochanan, we do believe, and he says that even Rabbi Yehuda might agree with him, that we believe a later witness in this kind of case, because we didn't cancel them. There's no way to cancel them.
So where does this leave Resh Lakish?
With his opinion.
Which is wrong.
Well, no, I mean, it's an argument.
It's not the opinion of the Rabbonim. Not only is it not the opinion of the Rabbonim, but he's angry with Rabbi Elazar because he says, if I would have known that it was my mentor's opinion, your opinion, it wasn't your opinion, it was my mentor's opinion.
Right.
And I would have agreed. I wouldn't have disagreed.
Right.
So this is what he's angry about. He attributed the opinion
to himself,
and Resh Lakish probably didn't think as highly of him as he did Rabbi Yochanan, who was his mentor,
right,
was his teacher,
right. Right. So I mean, the argument is the argument,
and Rabbi Yochanan agrees with the Rabbanim.
Well, no. So again, originally we tried to say that one agrees with the Rabbanim and one and the other one and the other one agrees with Rabbi Yehuda. But the Gemara pushes that aside and says no, both of their opinions could fit well with our Mishnah. It's at the end of the day, no. Rabbi Yochanan does not have the opinion of the Rabbanim. It's either Rabbanon or Rabbi Yehuda, and so does Reish Lakish. Meaning they're talking about two very different kind of scenarios. So we don't know if Rabbi Yochanan's opinion is like Rabbanon or not. Meaning because it's such a different scenario. Whether according to Reish Lakish, we would say
not according to Reish Lakish.
No, Reish Lakish says that our Mishnah is different. Could say, right? This is, by the way, this is the Gemara talking on behalf of Reish Lakish, what Reish Lakish could have said, because we don't know what Reish Lakish is. We don't know. He's not here with us right now. So the Gemara says that Reish Lakish could make a difference between our Mishnah and this story. Why? What's the difference? Our Mishnah is talking about groups of witnesses that come one right after the other. Reish Lakish says, here, there's this woman, and this woman I don't trust. And since I don't trust this woman, I don't trust anybody she brings. And therefore, we cannot bring any proof from our Mishnah to the argument of Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. That's according to Reish Lakish. According to Rabbi Yochanan, he says that over there, all the witnesses are getting canceled. Over here, the last witness is not canceled. We know him. He's saying proper witness, so we can't bring. So again, even according to Rabbi Yochanan, we cannot bring a similarity between the Mishnah and their argument. So the Gemara tried to say that the argument between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan is similar to the argument that we find in our Mishnah, and ultimately the Gemara ends off and says, no, they're not similar. They're not necessarily similar. Okay. A good brain workout. We're gonna stop here today. Any other questions?
My brain hurts.
Beautiful.
Tell me about it. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. It hurts with